Hi, it's Louisa Dahl. And welcome to the Interactive Minds podcast, where I talk with passionate marketers, innovators, and digital leaders about their specific recipes for success. In today's show, I interview Russ Macumber from Impressive Digital. Here's 3 things you're going to learn. 1, how to structure an agency that doesn't outsource. 2, how an agency stays up to date on the latest digital marketing. And 3, a cool way to build culture at your company. Let's get into it. Today I'm interviewing Russ Macumber, who is the strategy director at Melbourne-based digital agency Impressive Digital. Russ has been in marketing for over 13 years and in the digital space specifically for the last 7. Prior to being at Impressa, he led a digital sales team online at online wedding marketplace easyweddings.com. Russ is also the host of the Impressive Digital Marketer podcast. Welcome to the show, Russ.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for being here today.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Now, I'm keen to know a bit more about your role at Impressive. What can you tell us?
Yeah, cool. So I work in the strategy team, so basically dealing primarily with new businesses who are either interested in finding out about what we can do in growing their traffic and their presence online. So we have a large volume of inbound inquiry that comes in, which we're pretty fortunate to deal with, and then also a bit of outreach in terms of speaking engagements and different bits and pieces that I do. I often have other businesses that I reach out to that I think we might be able to help. And my role is just trying to find some good channels and good strategy recommendations for prospective businesses, and then putting those together for our team.
Yeah. So, what services does Impressive offer?
Yeah. So we're primarily acquisition. So search and social. So anything. Organic search, content marketing to back up SEO, search engine marketing, or anything around the sort of Google products. So across YouTube as well, search, display, remarketing, Google Display Network. We run targeted display across, through other channels as well and other publishing networks, and then paid social. So Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We've got a social team that run those campaigns. Marketing automation, so email marketing automation across a number of different platforms or through a number of different platforms. So that's basically in terms of the acquisition. And then we also work on conversion rate optimization. So once the traffic's coming through to clients' websites, we've got the skills in-house as well to help run little projects to increase their conversion.
Fantastic. Quite a big range of things that you're doing.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it's a big range, but it is all kind of around that sort of acquisition sort of focus, as opposed to all the other things in the digital landscape which agencies can provide.
Yeah, definitely. What's the best thing about your job?
Best thing is just knowing that what we do really, really well. Like having specialists in house and being able to represent something that brings big results for clients. I think specifically there's a couple of niches that we do really well in. And from my previous experience in digital prior to here, one of those niches specifically around e-commerce and then fashion e-commerce was an area which has almost seemed like a kind of, an unknowing kind of black art prior to being here. Being able to build conversions and build sustainable traffic campaigns in that area. But having started here and being able to build, some award-winning campaigns and be a part of a team that delivers some big results, that to me is what sort of gets me up and about and makes me feel really good about helping businesses.
Awesome. And you've been in digital and sales for quite some time now. What was the transition like moving from brand side to client side a couple of years ago?
I guess, it was a pretty big shift in terms of, working on a number of different clients rather than just working, selling and working on digital programs for one sort of big website.
Yep.
Just being able to have a bit more variety, big thing, which I've really enjoyed having since come here. And also for me, because previously it was within the wedding industry, outside of my day role, I've also been a celebrant. So I've been marrying people on weekends.
Cool.
So getting outside of the wedding space, as much as I loved it and as much as weddings are an amazing thing to be a part of, I was pretty happy to be able to talk business and talk digital to people without having to mention, couples and brides and grooms and grooms and grooms and brides and brides. So that's been a fun change as well, dealing with a broader range of businesses.
Good. Now, today we're going to delve into a little bit around how you structure your team at Impressive and manage those as well. And I know there's some takeaways here for both agency people and also for brand side marketers as well. Tell us a little bit around how Impressive likes to approach team and resourcing.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess, it all sort of comes back to the fact that we do 100% of the work in-house, which means that we do need to keep, pretty... we need to have a sort of fairly chunky staff level to keep servicing all the new clients that we're bringing on, and as clients' campaigns get bigger, we need to have people to be able to execute on those.
Yeah. So let me stop you there for a second and say 100% of your resources are in-house. So that's all your client work, all your SEO, your copywriting, whatever it is. You've got teams on staff for that.
Spot on. So from where I'm sitting right now, next to me, just on the other side of this glass wall, is the SEO team and the paid search team. Behind them, we've got the marketing automation team. Then within each of the different teams, we've also got specialists who specialize in certain channels within those teams. So within the sort of paid, the pay-per-click team, the paid search team, we've got a copywriter who's just a gun with search ads. We've got a young guy who's a whiz who sits just near me who's a gun with YouTube ads.
Yep.
Then in paid social, we've got people who specialize in different niches, different verticals, and all the way through. So it's really specialized talent, and it's that's what's been a big sort of differentiator for us. And that sort of comes into where I was saying before about the results that we can generate, because we've got people who are just kind of absolute ninjas at that one sort of discipline.
Yeah.
That's where we've been able to find some real sort of, key wins for our clients.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure there's a lot of benefits for having people sitting in the office and available to be experts on those areas. I guess the biggest thing that pops into my head though is how do you manage the fluctuations in the amount of work that comes in and the scaling up and down that you typically might need in an agency?
Yep. So I guess the thing with within the teams is not so much within the teams, but within the sort of clients that we bring on board. So we specialize in having that sort of omni-channel integrated approach where you've got, we're running ads for them across all the different paid, Google suite of products, and we're running social ads and marketing automation. Having those people sit near each other just helps them be able to communicate in a way that we're sort of having those channels working together rather than against one another.
Yep.
That's one thing. But I guess the thing is too, like as a client grows and has more and more channels under, being run under this roof, then we split them into different tiers as a business. So if a client comes on board and they're, potentially just, one channel, then there'll be a tier tier three. Tier three client. As their program grows and they need more resources on it, more specialists, then they sort of build up to a tier two, and then 3, 2, 1.
Yep, that makes sense.
Get that mixed up. Yeah. So tier one being the ones that are basically employing, every one of the specialist marketing teams within here, and they have their own kind of, big omni-channel team of, it could be 7, 8, 9, 10 digital marketers across design, copywriting, content.
What, as dedicated resources or part?
They're split. They're part-time, so they're full-time with Impressive, but they are dedicated resources to that campaign. So we don't have, if you've got someone working as a lead content writer for a particular brand, then they will just work, then that brand knows that they've got that person sort of working with them on all their content.
Yeah, great.
As opposed to having different people coming in and trying to catch up on the tone of voice of the brand and, who the personas they're speaking to and that sort of thing.
Yeah, great. And I think that tiered structure is quite interesting. I'm keen to understand a little bit more around that. So your tiers are really allocated based on, I suppose, the amount of work that client is doing and the number of channels that they're going across. Correct. It's all about the resources we need to put into their campaign. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, interesting. And do you find then that you have teams associated with each tier, is that right? Yeah. So depending on what channels the particular brand has got running with us. So each of the actually, let me just take a step back. All of the channels could work across any of the different tiers, but it's really just about the amount of resources for each. Yep. But then for a tier one, for example, you're potentially going to have
our leads of each of the team as well, kind of having kind of regular input and then more sort of client-facing involvement, as opposed to because typically it'll just be the account manager who is kind of doing all of the project managing and client-facing once the client's on board.
Yep.
But some of those tier one clients will, have potentially our head of search or head of paid search, head of social, really engaging in conversation around how the campaigns are going and what we can do to improve, and consulting and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, so more direct contact, I suppose, with those specialists.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, interesting. And do you have clients move between the tiers then as they grow? Is that how that evolves?
Yeah, that's a pretty typical thing. I mean, this has really evolved as a business, like as we've sort of matured and gotten to a point where more of our clients, because we found that niche that we were doing such a good job of having these multi-channel campaigns running. It's something which we didn't start out there. The agency is only sort of 3.5 years old. But as we've realised, okay, well, that's quite a strength of ours. It has been something where some of our older clients who came in on 1 or 2 channels are then sort of growing, getting more resources, and then sort of moving up the sort of tier structure.
Yeah. And if someone, say a copywriter, is working at Impressive, are they switching between clients on multiple tiers, or are they sticking to clients on a particular tier?
No, they would be switching between different tiers. So there's not necessarily a quality of work differentiator between the different tiers. It's more just about the sort of volume of resources that's going to it. Yeah. So a tier one client, let's say, for example, you've got someone who's just doing SEO and content, and they've got in their package, in their campaign, they've got 2 blogs per month, for example. It might be let's say it's a hardware brand. That copywriter could potentially be working on tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So it's the same quality of work.
Yeah.
It just happens that they've only got sort of 1 account manager, 1 SEO specialist, and 1 copywriter, as opposed to potentially more people within their little Omni team here.
Yeah, great. Excellent. And what do you see as the main benefits of working, I suppose, in this way, both with the tiers and also in keeping your team internal?
I think from a sort of internally, it does give us an opportunity to those big omni-channel campaigns are what people really like to work on, because when you can have that collaborative approach and start going, hey, I found this really cool, these little wins across running Instagram stories and the CPM we're getting there at top of funnel. I think this could really work well. This Aid Creative, if we just switched it up a bit, it might work really well on YouTube. And just that kind of, because they're all, even though they're just, as I said, absolute specialists in that one channel, they are kind of really passionate digital marketers. They do know about the other channels. They are kind of curious to see how the channels interplay with one another.
Yeah.
So I think that, what's that, sorry?
You get to leverage that as well, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. So from a specialist perspective, it just gives them a chance to get a bit more creative and think a bit sort of outside the square of how the channels can work together. And then, but from within the sort of the account management, so the day-to-day contact, the ones that are managing those bigger campaigns will be the, more experienced project managers, because they have to be, because obviously they're running a whole lot more channels. There's a lot more deliverables. There's a lot more that's sort of needed. So you, as a client, if that's what you're on board with Impressive as, then you'd want to know that you've got someone who's been doing it a long time and has got, a lot of experience in terms of internally getting stuff done in here and being able to communicate that out externally to the client.
Yeah, great. How many team members do you have now at Impressive?
We actually just had another 1 or 2 start yesterday. So I think we've got 54.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Was Impressive always running under this structure, or has it been something that's evolved?
It's been something that's evolved. So we have always, we've been doing the work in-house for as long as, I've been here since November 2017.
Yep.
And we've been doing it all in-house. But when I started, we basically had, I think there was 7 of us. So it meant that people who were running, your paid social were also doing some Google ads, and content writers were also doing some SEO. And then as we've gotten bigger, we've managed to be able to have the people who are potentially working across both, Facebook and Google, for example, really hone in on one of those and just get really amazing at that. And then as we've sort of gotten bigger and bigger, the teams have just gotten bigger, and like our marketing automation team has gone from 1 to this 3 or 4. Then I feel bad not knowing, but we're kind of growing so quickly. We've doubled in size in the last 7, 8, about 8 months. We've doubled in size almost.
Wow.
So it's kind of hard to keep up.
Yeah. And do you think there's a tipping point as to when this structure works versus doesn't work? And I guess I refer there to both the no outsourcing as well as the tier side of things.
Yeah, no, I think we've built it, like, part of having the tiers was about making sure it was scalable. And, in terms of the no outsourcing, it just means that as we bring on more clients, and which is what's happening, and even as our clients' campaigns are growing bigger with us and they're adding channels, we're just adding human resources to be able to service it.
Yeah.
So the tipping point, I guess, is probably the building that we're in. We've almost outgrown. Like, we're kind of overflowing into our next door neighbours' space at the moment, which is probably frustrating for them. That's probably more of a physical tipping point rather than the conceptual in terms of the model. I think we're pretty happy with the way the model can scale.
And are all your staff located in the same office?
We are, yep. So we've got a shared space we've got the top floor of our building.
Yep.
And there's a sister business who we do a lot of work alongside called AppScore in the building, in the office kind of next to us. I don't know how to describe it. We share everything. Like, we share the coffee station, meeting rooms, everything like that. So they're right there. I'm looking at them right now.
Cool.
But, some of our team have had to start populating that side of the top floor.
Yes.
Just we've sort of outgrown our area. But funnily enough, the table tennis table, our design and our dev team have moved across to the other side, but the table tennis table managed to keep live and on our side. So I don't know how they feel about being separated, prioritised second from the table tennis table.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously the way you're structured is very focused on specialists being in the roles.
Yes.
Tell us your thoughts around that, because, I mean, obviously a lot of marketers out there are making the decision around whether to specialise or be a generalist. It's something they have to keep revisiting throughout their career. What's your advice or approach on that?
Look, I just from having seen the results that we've been able to get here, from having, and it's not really possible for everyone to be able to hire a specialist in every single discipline of every single channel. But I just think whether it's specialist in delivery or specialist in sales or specialist in a certain aspect of what you do, if you can really hone, I think I mentioned this on the phone, if you can keep, just sharpening the axe and keep on just honing it is what you do really, really well, you can only get better and better, especially if you're passionate about what you do, especially if you're open to learning and you're coachable and you really want to kind of get better at what you do, which I think we've done a really good job of attracting those type of people. Then, yes, that specialisation, all the people that I know that are absolute guns at what they do are like absolute guns at a particular thing, as opposed to being across a few different things.
Yeah. So, yeah. And are they generally happy to stay within those areas, or do you find that your team is kind of wanting to, explore on the edges of some of the other areas related?
That's a good question. From here, I think perhaps the people that we're attracting. Oh no, we've had some people move. We've had a content writer move into a PR role. So that does happen occasionally. I think that just the nature of an agency like this, the people who kind of like having their fingers across all the different channels are probably people more like myself who are not actually on the tools doing the work, but are more sort of a generalist across a range of different channels. So us in the strategy team, the account managers,
yes,
need to have a pretty deep understanding of all the different channels, but not necessarily that sort of deep understanding to be able to execute.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. And how do you help your staff or team members, or suggest that they stay up to date with all the changes that are happening? Is that something you kind of coordinate at a company level, or is it on an individual basis?
Yeah, for sure. So probably within the different teams. So we've got the business outside of the tiers. We've also got our digital strategy team. You've got your account management team, and then the delivery team, which is kind of a big chunk of the business. So within the teams, there's a lot of kind of internal. We use Slack for messaging. So anytime there's any industry trends, we've got a broader industry trends channel.
Yep.
Where we share new stuff. If there's a core algorithm change or something like that, that pretty much just goes out to our general channel and everyone gets across it.
Yes.
But anything kind of smaller and technical within each of our different teams, we're just sharing heaps of content, whether it's articles, podcasts. Our specialists and also our account managers, and actually we're going through analytics training again in the strategy team, are all across the kind of top level certifications we need to be, and within sort of the Google certifications and the Facebook certifications and the like. So we've got that sort of formal stuff as well, but a lot of it is just passionate people sharing cool new stuff that's happening and just, talking about it and just, really trying to keep everyone up to date with what's happening.
Yeah, and no doubt living it from day to day as well.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
For someone that was familiar with Impressive, what would be something from behind the scenes that they might not know about the business?
What they might not know about the business, but they're familiar with Impressive.
Yeah.
Possibly that when Rob started it out, so Rob's the owner of Impressive.
Yep.
He's worked with a lot of the bigger agencies. A lot of the philosophies of doing everything in-house and having a more sort of service-driven model are based on his experiences within much bigger agencies and the way that he'd seen those operate.
Okay.
As a function of that, so when he was starting out, he was literally only hiring people that he knew or that he worked really, or that someone that he knew really well had worked really closely with. And I think that just enabled him to build a really kind of strong, tight-knit culture from the start of good people.
Yeah.
Rather than sort of, not that there's anything wrong with going to seek, when you're starting out, but I think it just helped him sort of keep that inner circle and sort of build it from a place where he's got really trustworthy people.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that. It's just, there was kind of, I know when I started, I came in through a friend who worked here and I'd worked alongside him for a long time. So there was that connection there. I just feel like it just, especially in the early days, it helped us set things up knowing that we had good people around us who we'd seen perform in other agencies. We knew how they operated. There was a shorthand that was kind of already there, and it helped us kind of accelerate that growth early on. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the founding culture really, isn't it, as well, and having that trustworthy network that you're able to draw on.
Exactly. Yep. So I think that's, so, and the business has kind of grown to a point where obviously it's too big to now know every single person that comes in, but I think we've got enough of a base of people who had a shorthand over a number of years that people can come in and kind of pick it up and run with it and know how we operate and know how, our expectations of one another. Yeah.
What do you do now to kind of grow and maintain the culture?
We've got a few things. Like we were one of the, so I'm just going to brag for a second, but we were one of the top 100 Anthill coolest companies last year.
Nice.
A couple of things that we do which are quite different. I reckon the pitch off is probably our best thing. We have a once a month or every 2 months. I think we've brought it back to once a month again, where we have 2 or 3 people pitch a staff activity to the team.
Cool.
And then everyone votes. So the pitches get like pretty ferocious and they get like, people put a lot of work into them. I know a pitch that I did last year, I actually got my sister, who's a comedian, to come in, and no one knew she was a comedian.
Yep.
And she came in and did a surprise roast on every single person in the business.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that was, and my event was, to go out to a comedy night. So that was kind of the relevance there.
Yep.
So we've been to, we've jumped down the side of buildings, we've done paintball, we've done zombie killing, we've done, all sorts of stuff as a team to, as off the back of those pitch off events.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. So do you actually do these activities monthly as well?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, we do. So we had like a rave. Oh, not a rave. We had like DJs and a party in the park over summer.
Yeah.
We did this really cool one where we went to it's like this place where you paint portraits of one another when you did them in Picasso style.
Nice.
And then now everyone's got those kind of canvases next to their desk of what someone's drawn of them.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a cool place to work. It's definitely, sort of, Rob's just done a great job. I think like he's, just a great guy, great human, and, just good people attract good people, I think. And that's pretty much how we've sort of grown.
Yeah, great. What's next on the cards for you?
For me personally, I'm actually looking, we are expanding to the US, so I'll be running that operation. So I'm actually just in the process of kind of finalising all the visa bits and pieces for myself and my family to head to Austin, Texas to run Impressive USA. Yeah.
Wow. So when's that move happening?
Oh, let's say January 2020.
Yep.
And let's hope that the laws of attraction make it happen.
That's not too far away now.
I know. So that's what we're planning. That's what we're aiming for. So we've just got a few boxes to tick, and hopefully we're over there, and the kids can get over there and adopt their American accent, and it's happy days.
Fantastic. Well, best of luck for that. Now, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, so probably do a search on LinkedIn for Russ Russ Macumber, Macumber. That's probably the easiest way. You can find me on there. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Just shoot me a message through there. Otherwise, you obviously jump on impressive.com.au and you can see everything that we do here. And
excellent. And you have digital. A podcast too.
Yes, so the Impressive Digital Marketer podcast, which we talk to a range of different guests, talk about digital marketing, and that is available on all the big podcast players, Apple Podcasts, and all the others.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the Interactive Minds podcast today, Russ. Great to have you.
Cool. Thanks so much, Louisa. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, please remember to subscribe. I loved the culture part of our conversation, so my recommended action item from today's show is to look at what cool thing you can do with your team to build your culture. Please join me in the Interactive Minds Facebook group, where I do weekly lives and the marketing industry connects. You can access today's show notes at interactiveminds.com/podcast. See you next week.